My semi-disabled mother moved in with me, but my boyfriend took it badly. Then my mother started acting, so I was shocked. And another family story. Update, my 30F, semi-disabled mother, 65F, moved in with me. My BF, 34M, hasn't been handling well. How do I handle this? Here's the original post. Thank you so much who offered advice on my previous post. So much of it has been really helpful. I did my best to reply to comments, and I was surprised by all the responses I got. So much has happened since I posted this, and I feel there was some information that I excluded from the original post because it felt irrelevant at the time, but now does seem relevant. First, I kind of want to elaborate on my mom's behavior while living with us. This didn't originally feel relevant to this post because my mom really feels like a fixed point to me, like she's going to behave how she behaves. That doesn't change that she's my mom, and I feel I have a responsibility towards her as long as she isn't violent or outright abusive. Also, I'm pretty desensitized to my mom's quirks. I've been dealing with her my whole life. It doesn't really occur to me to think critically of her behavior. My mom is really manipulative, and I am easy to manipulate. She is the type of person who will make small, seemingly innocuous comments that over time kind of create a new reality if you are around her frequently. So over the time she lived with us, she really made me feel that 65 is very, very old, and it's unreasonable to expect a 65-year-old to take care of herself. She also basically didn't take care of her personal hygiene. It was very hard to get her shower, to the point where she would smell terribly. It was hard to be in a room with her. I would, of course, beg her to shower, and every time it was a very long, drawn-out, dramatic, and emotionally intense scene. She would cry, sob. She would tell me she'd promised to do it in the morning the following day, and then the next day, she'd be throwing up sick. She'd beg me not to shame her for struggling, emphasizing that she's getting old, and as you get old, it's hard to do things. She'd talk about being afraid of falling in the shower and no one helping her because I'm so ashamed of her. After she did shower, if I thanked her, she'd burst into tears and talk about how difficult it had been and how scared she had been of falling. This happened almost every time. I want to emphasize that at the time this was upsetting to me, and that I kind of just accepted it. I also felt horribly guilty for causing her emotional distress, and going through this whole process like once a week was pretty overwhelming. Also, there had been a pretty big blow-up where I realized that she hadn't been applying to any jobs. She wanted me to fix something with her phone, and it led to me seeing she had 0 applied jobs on Indeed, 0 confirmation, we jot your application emails. None of that. I asked her to furnish any proof that she'd been applying, and she couldn't. She swore up and down, tearfully, that she had been applying, but she couldn't prove it at all. This made me really upset, but she still had nowhere to go, and she's still my mom. So I didn't really know what to do. I started making her show me every morning the jobs she had applied to. Afterwards, she did this voluntarily every morning. I had been told when she first had her series of TIAs that she needs to go on short, frequent walks. Otherwise, she will experience blood flow issues that cause things like numbness in her limbs. She barely moves at all, so much that her leg muscles are very atrophied. I've offered to go on walks with her, buy her a walker, etc., but she always declines. It's worthy of note that I work from home, so I was around her constantly. She was the only person I talked to other than BF, sometimes for weeks. And when BF came home, he was usually really short-tempered. So for me, this created a reality where my mom was feeble, elderly, shouldn't be expected to care for herself, trying her best. And BF was pissy, irritable, kind of ungrateful about everything I did for him and for our relationship. My mom would comment frequently about how hard I work to have dinner ready when he gets home and how he never appreciates it. How immature he seems compared to me. So for most of the day, I would be dealing with my mom's emotional scenes, hearing a constant streams of subtle negative comments about BF, all so innocuous, and focused on praising my efforts that I didn't realize how they were influencing me. All these realizations came later. Shortly after I made the original post, BF and I had a conversation that ended in us both calmly deciding it would be best for us to break up and move out. Luckily, our lease already ended and we were on month to month, so this wasn't an issue. It took a week for us to arrange new places to live. I got a 2BR for my mom and I. He found a studio. This happened at the beginning of this month. We both move into our new places at the end of this month. BF requested that mom go elsewhere for a while so we can pack without her being around. I wholeheartedly agreed. We've been together for a long time. This is difficult. Going through a breakup, living together for a month, and also having your ex's mom be there constantly. Terrible. My cousin agreed to let my mom stay at her place. This is not a long-term arrangement. She's sharing a bed with my cousin's mom, who lives with her. My aunt has MS. It's a different situation. I can elaborate if desired. It's fine for a bit, but not forever. With my mom gone, everything changed. BF and I were getting along perfectly. BF's entire mood and vibe reverted back to how it was before. Fun, kind, hilarious, delightful. I felt like I was waking up. I had a few counseling sessions that helped me to realize that most 65-year-olds take care of themselves. My mom does have some issues, but a lot of the issues are within her ability to fix. She hasn't been trying to sign up for government assistance. She hasn't been trying to do anything. She hasn't even been taking care of herself. At all. I realized through counseling and talking with friends and family that just because she's decided not to take care of herself doesn't mean I have to sacrifice my life to take care of her. I also had a lot of conversations with BF, ex-BF now, where we were able to really see how the other person was affected by all of this. He really now understands how this constant manipulation was causing me not to really see my mom add the situation clearly. He also understands that despite everything, she is my mom. And for my part, I really understand why he was just at the end of his rope and was acting like a dick all the time. He was acting like a dick all the time. He openly agrees he was. But yeah, I get it. I really do. He wasn't the problem. We had some stuff to work on. And that was present before my mom moved in. But I think all that was fixable if we didn't have 6 months of me slowly being brainwashed and him slowly becoming the worst version of himself. I do have a lease, which mom is on, for a year in the new place. I've decided that I will hold that lease for 1 year, after which I am moving into a 1BR alone. If in a full year she has not found a way to support herself, at that point it won't be me making her homeless. I can't keep supporting someone who makes no effort to support themselves, seems perfectly happy to have my life fall apart, and contributes nothing at all to our shared home. I'm happy to help her however she asks me to during the next year. But I can't set myself on fire to keep her warm, especially if she makes no effort. There are options out there for her. She's perfectly capable of looking into them. I need to give myself the love, care, and consideration I've given her. I have to have a question, so. What guidance can you give for someone living with a parent who has a proven track record of being manipulative? My M30 younger brother's M28 girlfriend, F25, said something that made me, and everyone else in the room, super uncomfortable. It's been months, and it's still a problem. How do I get everyone to move past this? So, some background. My brother, we'll call him John, and I are very different people and always have been. I'm a nerdy guy who liked playing Dungeons and Dragons and worked from home coding websites. He's always been sporty and has one of those corporate office jobs where I swear half of his work is just playing golf and going to fancy lunches. We didn't always get along, but we're pretty good these days. He started dating his girlfriend, who we'll call Jane, a few years back during what was a pretty low point for me in life. I had just gotten out of a long-term relationship that had ended anything but amicably, was burning out of the career I went to college for, and in general was about 2 paychecks away from having to move in with my folks. The stress of it all was taking a toll on my body. I went from the lightly chubby I'd been my whole life to just straight up fat, and shortly after the breakup, I had an anxiety attack, so bad it put me in a hospital. It was not a good time to get to know me. I was basically the picture of a fuck-up older brother. But I turned it around. I got the mental health assistance I needed to diagnose and treat some long-standing issues. With that as a springboard, I started exercising more and eating better, finding cooking to be a good hobby that also lead to me eating less takeout and processed foods. I'm still no Adonis, still got a bit of tummy, but I'm much stronger and feel better. I was able to quit my job and find a new one in a field that I never considered, but that I found I love enough that I'm going back to school to work on a PhD in the fall, so I can pursue it to a greater extent. And finally, I started dating again, someone, we'll call her Flo, who was a better match for me than my ex. Which all brings us to the night things went wrong. We have a family gathering in my parents' house, extended family, and all plus Jane and Flo. I'm making dinner, a beef Wellington. Everyone is raving about my food. I also did dinner this past Thanksgiving as well. And also my recent glow-up, my new job, the program I got into, etc. I'm smiling politely and mostly just trying to do a bunch of dinner prep while they won't get out of my way. Then Jane says, "Yeah, never thought I'd picked the wrong brother, but I'm starting to think I might have." You could hear a pin drop. I said nothing, again, just awkwardly laughed at what I assumed had been a bad joke. Jane's face immediately changed to the look of someone who has only just realized their fuck-up. John looked pissed, and the two of them left the kitchen shortly after. For what I could see, she seemed to be trying to apologize to him while he looked really hurt. My relatives said nothing, not immediately anyway. Flo kind of just winced and later told me that it was really awkward having to stand there, but she didn't know what else to do that wouldn't have escalated things or put me on the spot. That was over 2 months ago, and both John and Jane avoid me like the plague. Not even a text since then. Whenever I meet up with my relatives, they badmouth her over it. And while I think Jane did fuck up saying that, I really do think she was just making a bad joke. Personally, I think they're overreacting. This aside, I think she's probably the first person he's ever dated who was a fit for him in terms of personality and lifestyle. The only person being normal about it is Flo, who thinks it was weird, but like me, just a dumb thing to say. No, jealousy. She knows Jane ain't my type. How do I clear the air with Jane and John and get people to stop bringing this up? I'm sick of hearing about it and just want things to go back to how they were before. Right now, it just feels like a dark cloud over all of our interactions. Update. Message John. Grabbing a beer over the weekend. We'll update later. In the meantime, some clarifying info for some of the other comments. Jane is a very nice person, and she really cares for John. She's been with him through some difficult times, including a period where work separated the two of them for 3 months, and they're otherwise attached at the hip. She does have what some call a lack of filter. We've known that for a while. But she'd absolutely never leave him for me. For why my relatives won't let it go, probably because they're a bunch of old Italian Catholics who like to gossip, which, incidentally, is probably why they didn't like the joke in the first place. My brother and I have a pretty good relationship as adults and aren't especially competitive. My folks and relatives don't favor one of us over the other, though admittedly they do understand my brother's career path better than mine. I agree with a number of comments that the impetus of the joke was that I'm a good cook, especially when it comes to be celebratory feasts. John is okay in the kitchen, but he's the kind of guy for whom a fancy meal just means picking up a more expensive cut of steak. I really don't think it has anything to do with me being the hot brother, now as a few comments suggested. John and I have always looked very different. Comparing us would be more a matter of personal preference than any kind of objective hotness scale. He's tall with a runner's build, and I'm a few inches shorter with a wide build and more visible muscles, as weightlifting is my main form of exercise. Lastly, not to toot my own horn, but I've never had any issues getting dates barring the aforementioned year-long period where my life was falling apart. So I must have been doing something right. Lastly, as some have said, I probably could have saved everyone some awkwardness by playing along with Jane's comment with a "sorry, Flo got me first," with something else similar. I go into what Flo dramatically calls the kitchen death drive while cooking complicated meals, where I'm laser-focused on the task at hand to the exclusion of all else, and my responses to questions tend to be short, curt, and even a bit rude. Normally, I would have tried to help salvage the bad joke, but I was searing a big, expensive piece of tenderloin at the moment, so my thoughts were elsewhere.